This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers missed 6 free throws in the fourth quarter last night at Crypto.com, and it had a painful impact. Orlando got a three-pointer at the buzzer from Franz Wagner to beat the Lakers 119-118. The loss snapped the Lakers' 6-game winning streak. 2 of those missed free throws were by Anthony Davis with 18 seconds left in the game, and the Lakers up by 2. LeBron also missed a free throw in the fourth quarter. The Lakers are at home Saturday night against Denver. The Clippers are back in action tonight. They're at home against Sacramento. The Clippers are going for their 4th straight win. Dodger star Shohei Ohtani was a unanimous choice for National League MVP. Ohtani led the NL with 54 home runs and 130 RBIs. He also had 59 stolen bases. Ohtani is the first player in Major League Baseball history to have 50 homers and 50 stolen bases in the same season. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 invites you to join us in celebrating the season of giving by being part of the solution. As we enjoy great food, family, warmth, and well wishes in whatever our festive tradition may be, we share the beauty of the season by reaching out to the less fortunate. Please help us to help others with the KBLA Cover the Houseless Cozy Community Coat and Blanket Drive. All you have to do is drop off new or clean, gently used winter coats and blankets in the KBLA lobby during business hours. Now through December 20th, all of the coats and blankets will be donated to unsheltered individuals and families experiencing houselessness. Simply bring your donation to 4434 Crenshaw Boulevard in Los Angeles, near Vernon Avenue, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays. That's 4434 Crenshaw in historic Leimert Park. During the holidays and every day, let's remember, we keep us safe. We keep us warm. We are the safety net. And together, we can cover the unsheltered. Get caught up in the spirit of the season, the spirit of love. Make a difference with your friends at KBLA Talk 1580.
Smoking weed in the street without cops harassing. Imagine going to court with no trial. Lifestyle cruising blue Bahama waters. No welfare supporters. More conscious of the way we raise our daughters. Days are shorter, nights are colder. Feeling like life is over. These snakes strike like a cobra. The world's hot, my son got knocked. Evidently, it's elementary. They want us all gone eventually. Trooping out of state for a plate. Knowledge, if coke was cooked without the garbage, we'd all have the top dollars. Imagine everybody flashing. Fashion, designer clothes. Lacing your click up with diamond rolls. Your people holding dough, no parole, no rubbers. Going raw, imagine law with no undercovers. Just some thoughts for the mind. I take a glimpse into time, watch the blimp read, the world is mine. If I rule the world, imagine that. I free all my sons. I love them, baby. Black diamonds and pearls. Could it be, if you could be mine, we both shine. If I rule the world, still living for today.
KBLA Talk 1580. It's time for Freedmen Friday. We do this every week at this time, 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. We talk about reparations. It's meant to be a comprehensive conversation where you can be up to date, up to speed, part of the solution, not part of the problem, and at least be aware of what's going on in the space. All of my podcasts around Freedmen Fridays are available wherever you get your podcasts, and they are on YouTube. I'm excited to welcome into the space this morning president of the California African American Genealogical Society. She's the delegate, president, and historian for the California Society. She's been a funeral program collector since childhood, and she joined the California African American Genealogical Society back in 1994 and started researching her own family history. One database now has about 1,200 descendants of her enslaved fraternal great-grandmother. She's taught genealogy classes and presented on genealogy research for African Americans. She's got a Doctor of Public Administration from USC and a career in public administration, policy making, and healthcare management. Dr. Edna Briggs, good morning.
Good morning.
That's a lot of pages. 1,200 descendants.
Well, that's a lot of information. I'm impressed.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Let's start with the basics. What is genealogy?
Basically, genealogy involves uh, you start with yourself in terms of documenting basic vital statistics, your birth date, your parents' birth dates, and you branch all the way back as far as you can go to your great grandparents, second removed, third great grandparents, fourth great grandparents, and on back. And in doing so, it involves having to pretty much. When I started in '94, I had to leave home in order to go to a library or travel to back home to Arkansas and go through the courthouse, the State Bureau of Vital Statistics, and places like that to obtain marriage records, birth certificates, on and on. These days, it's a bit easier in that there's been a tons and tons of digitizing of all sorts of records. And with artificial intelligence coming in, things are really, really taking off in leaps and bounds in terms of helping African Americans find their ancestors who were here during slavery and before. And so with this information, unfortunately, we document things. We have rooms filled with tons of papers that may or may not be organized into binders. Good people have their things in binders, and there's a binder for every individual that they research. I'm not like that. My situation I will not talk about. And then at some point, what we've had happen within our society is we've lost many of the original leaders who started the CAAGS, or the California African American Genealogical Society. They've passed away,
Yep.
and they've left nothing summarized, no document, no book, no nothing
Wow.
containing this information.
Wow, we'll get into that.
So,
Okay, so according to Merriam-Webster, genealogy is an account of the descent of a person, family, or group from an ancestor or from older forms. The study of family ancestral lines is another one they have here, an account of the origin and historical development of something. And for black people in this country, and other countries too, but we're talking about the United States here, for black people, descendants of enslaved persons, that becomes more urgent than for other groups, right?
that is true, although things are getting better. Back in, I believe, 2016, the Latter-day Saints of Jesus Christ group out of Salt Lake City struck a deal with NARA, the National Archives and Record Administration Office in Washington, D.C., where all of our history is buried. There was an arrangement made for the LDS people to go in and begin digitizing those early wills, probates, and other records where the names of slaves were recorded. Most often, back during slavery, about the only place you could find the names, the actual names of our ancestors, was in the property records of the slave owners. They kept our names along with their assets, the animals on the farm, the furniture, the number of horses they had, wagons, and etc. And then, following the Civil War, President Lincoln established the Freedmen's Bureau, it's called, or was called. And there were, I believe, about 39 offices set up across the South to assist slaves in transitioning out of, to assist former slaves in transitioning out of slavery. And in these offices, people would show up, and one of the main things they would go for was to get married, legally married. And so there are tons of marriage records in these places. And as well as they could also go to these offices for rations or food. And there were, as schools were established, the names of, documents from the schools were maintained in these offices. The offices were in place for, I believe, 8 or 9 years before Congress decided to take away the Freedmen Bureau offices, and all of those records went back to NARA. and they are there now, and they are being digitized. And so we can now, when I go into my favorite research websites, namely Ancestry.com or FamilySearch.org, there's new information that pops up when I, plug in the name of an ancestor whom I'm researching. So it is getting better for us in terms of being able to locate our ancestors. The thing is, you've got to take the time to do it.
Well, it's interesting that, of course, you mentioned the Mormons and that they've been pivotal in just collecting a lot of data. That's because they believe that families are eternal, that if you're a family member, you're a family member throughout time. And so for them, it's part of a spiritual mission. And the reason I bring that up is because in many of the indigenous West African spiritual traditions, the belief is that if you cannot recite 9 generations of your family tree, you're not mentally well. You can't be mentally stable if you're not rooted in with the knowledge of 9 generations of your family, which for most of us would be impossible, right?
That's true. Very true. I think I've only been able to go back to now generation 6, and I have no names for the ancestors who were here during that period. I have not found names yet.
Okay, so when you say back to generation 6, that means before you, 6 generations going back.
True. That takes us back to the 1700s and possibly
that's pretty far back. So now, but that's only 6 generations. Now, when you say you haven't found names, so you're able to trace the existence of people from yourself, but they're not named. They're just recorded as property without names.
They're as property, or if one of the main documents we turn to is the federal U.S. Census record.
Yeah.
That they began capturing every 10 years, starting in, I believe, 1790. But they did not record the names of enslaved people until after the Civil War, 1870. And so during the period between 1790 and 1860, they listed the names of the white people or the slave owners, and there was a particular column on the form that asked how many slave houses do you have, and if there's a number in that particular box, you then go to the bottom of the report for that area, and the slave owners are listed, the surnames are listed alphabetically, and there's for each slave owner, there's what's referred to as a slave schedule. But on the slave schedule, they basically list the individual slaves, but they only give their gender and age. There are a few. Some people have found, I believe we have a member who's from Texas, and she happened to have found a record during the 1840s or sometime like that, and the census taker took the time to actually write the names of the slaves on the form, but that is not common at all. And so I've been able to find the names of my great-grandparents back. Well, the first documentation was in the 1870 census, which was the period when they began recording the names of everybody after the conclusion of the Civil War. I have one great-grandfather, a paternal great-grandfather, whom I cannot find. I don't find him and his older sister and younger brother until 1880, and coming forward, he's listed. But at one point, when I started in 1994, there was a sort of a brick wall beyond that 1870. And so I'm still looking for names. Looking for the names. I have a better idea. I think I have the names of the slave owners, the potential slave owners, for the ones who do show up in the 1870 census, because they are living back then. they were still living, I believe, in the area where they had been enslaved.
Okay, we're talking with Dr. Edna Briggs. We're going to keep this conversation going. She's a genealogist. I got a lot of questions. If you do, you're welcome in. KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
We're thrilled to announce that the Dear Future Wifey podcast is now available on the Urban One Podcast Network. This show, hosted by Latiris R. Whitfield, explores the journey of discovering and rediscovering love and relationships. With over 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, Dear Future Wifey has become a prototype for discussions about love and relationships. Learn how to rediscover love, heal, and have faith in relationships. Go to urbanonepodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
An official message from Medicare. Couple more minutes, and we'll start this month's book club.
You know, I usually love a plot twist, but this year, I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you gotta make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money. Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
And we're talking with Dr. Edna Briggs. She is a genealogist, president of the California African American Genealogical Society. And Edna was sharing how she's been investigating her own family tree since the 1990s. You were talking about how you kind of ran into a brick wall with one of your paternal grandpas. It reminded me of a question that I have, which is really foundational, I think, to the quest for genealogical information for those who are anticipating reparations, reparatory justice, restitution, whatever that might look like. One of the things I wonder is what happens if your ancestor ran away, joined a maroon community, or bought their way into freedom or ran their way into freedom, and then, as many enslaved persons did, changes their name to avoid being found, does other various maneuvers to prevent being captured and re-enslaved. How do we find those people? How do we find those records?
That's a very good question, and that does happen. If you have a male ancestor, I have not come across any female ancestors who ended up going into the military back then. But if you find any male ancestors who went into any branch of the military, there are military records available. They're hard to find, but you can keep digging and you can find them, and it's a blessing to be able to find them. I've not come across none of our members who've had an ancestor who disappeared, even though people left slavery for whatever reasons. They escaped by way of the Underground Railroad, or they ran away some other way. They always kept in touch with their family members back on the plantations. They had ways of communicating. And then you have, the thing, too, of family members on the plantations who knew of someone who had escaped, and if they didn't develop a plan for themselves, they developed plans for the young people to get away. And so there are, through letters that people wrote and other ways, folks are able to connect with people who may have left slavery.
I'm thinking about one family that I interviewed on this show. They're trying to get their land back up in Northern California. And one of the problems that they're having is that their ancestors changed their names to avoid being captured. I don't know, I wonder if someone in a maroon community living with, indigenous Native American persons is going to write a letter. I'm concerned that there probably likely is a chunk of the population that doesn't show up in the military records or the census or the insurance company logs or plantation schedules.
That's a possibility, and actually, what you're discussing is somewhat new to me. We've not encountered anybody in our group who has had that particular circumstance. I guess I could say, but I wouldn't give up. I would, take whatever information they have about the ancestor they are researching, and wherever they make that first connection, go back and take a look at not only the immediate family members, but what we refer to as the fan club, friends, associates, and neighbors. And because there's information that can be derived that way as well, and it'll take a little bit more time, but I think it can be done.
We're going to go to Shayon calling us from Long Beach. Good morning, Shayon. Shayon, you there?
Hi.
Yeah. Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning. Our family is originally from the territory of Georgia, which wasn't called that prior to King George. But our family historian has stated emphatically that we have no ancestors that came from Africa on slave ships. Now, we know that we have always been here. Now, it's true that some of us did come from Africa, but then, you have the 1311 trip with out of West Africa, Mali, with Abu Bakari, who came. That's in 1311. The transatlantic slave trade is dated roughly 1444 with the Portuguese, 1492 with Columbus. So my question is, why are we not looking for those of us who have always been here and who was forced? Some of us was, physically on our own land put into slavery by Europeans.
Okay. Well, let's allow her to answer, because I know you have a lot to say on that. Shayon is identifies as Moorish, and a lot of those folks, as well as Hebrew Israelites and others, feel like there were Africans here before Columbus. Well, obviously, Dr. von Sertima has proven that, but some that were not just visiting before Columbus, but were always here.
Okay, well, unfortunately, I've not encountered anyone with that particular history, although we do know that during slavery there were people who were considered to be free. They were not enslaved. Some worked, and because there was always the caveat in the law whereby a slave could earn his or her freedom if they could work out an agreement with the slaveholder. And so some of our members have found that their ancestors were free. Now, there were tons of restrictions on them in terms of which states they could live in and what they could own and what they could amass and how they moved around. And some of our members have been able to find members that fit that category. But I know of no one, and it's a very, very interesting question to look at and raise. How about the people who came here not on slave ships but by other means and acquired property, yet end up suffering by having their land taken?
Right, or who were already here, right? Yeah. I feel like just from what you're telling me, no matter what our family history, you're encouraging us to dig for it. And we've just got a minute here before news, traffic, and sports. But is that kind of your advice?
Yes, exactly.
I mean, this is just probably not fair for me to ask you this question right here. We can continue after news, traffic, and sports. But I'm also curious what propelled you into this 30, 40-year journey of family study. Yeah, because it's a lot of work.
It is indeed. I got interested in 1994 during the time that I was attending my high school reunion back in Jefferson County, Arkansas. I happened to have been the keynote speaker at the main program that they put on. And I was living with, I spent time there with my mom, who had bought a house in quote-unquote town and rented out our farmhouse to some people. And so one of the tenants came by to pay the rent. And she said, and my mom was out. So she said, tell your mom that there's a new address down there for your house and your grandfather's house. And I said, hold up here. What do you mean a new address? How are my grandchildren going to find the place where I was born and grew up if you've changed the address?
Hold that thought. We got a hard stop here for news, traffic, and sports, but what a cliffhanger. KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. President Biden says the ICC arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is outrageous. The International Crime Court issued warrants on Thursday for Netanyahu and his former defense secretary, accusing them of war crimes in the Gaza Strip. Los Angeles is moving closer to becoming a sanctuary city. Councilman Hugo Soto Martinez says the new ordinance prevents the city from aiding federal immigration officials. It requires a second vote and Mayor Karen Bass's signature for approval. In Daniel Penny's subway death trial in New York, the defense claims Jordan Neely did not die from the chokehold. A forensic pathologist testified that Neely's death resulted from synthetic marijuana, schizophrenia, and other factors. And a coin flip decided the final member of the Mount Clemens Community School Board in Michigan. Rashida Hammond and Alex Bronson both tied with 3,496 votes each. Hammond won the coin toss and drew the paper marked elected. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. I started Blindster in 2010 in my garage after I overpaid for new blinds. I researched the industry, hired my mom, and 14 years later, we're one of the largest retailers of custom blinds in the U.S. Don't pay too much for new blinds. Go to Blindster.com.
Is this the This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers missed 6 free throws in the fourth quarter last night at Crypto.com, and it had a painful impact. Orlando got a 3-pointer at the buzzer from Franz Wagner to beat the Lakers 119 119 to 118. The loss snapped the Lakers' 6-game winning streak. 2 of those missed free throws were by Anthony Davis with 18 seconds left in the game, and the Lakers up by 2. LeBron also missed a free throw in the fourth quarter. The Lakers are at home Saturday night against Denver. The Clippers are back in action tonight. They're at home against Sacramento. The Clippers are going for their 4th straight win. Dodger star Shohei Ohtani was a unanimous choice for National League MVP. Ohtani led the NL with 54 home runs and 130 RBIs. He also had 59 stolen bases. Ohtani is the first player in Major League Baseball history to have 50 homers and 50 stolen bases in the same season. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
If we're the ones disproportionately impacted by these climate catastrophes, why should we be silent? Turning up the volume all year long on the climate conversation for KBLA Talk 1580.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code SNAP to get an extra 35 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code SNAP for a 35 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code SNAP for a 35 cents per gallon bonus.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
So this new dose is... nope, that's not it. The price is nowhere to be found.
Mr. Green? Hi, it's all good. We've got this.
This is not just help from a Walgreens pharmacist.
Oh, new prescriptions. Cool. Let me check to see if these are the lowest cost options covered by your Medicare plan.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
This is someone supporting you every step of the way. Chat with a pharmacist today to find help saving. This is the human kind of help. Walgreens.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth. Hello, Joe, you're up. Welcome.
We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
She is president and historian for the California African American Genealogical Society. Dr. Edna Briggs is with me on this Freedmen Friday as we talk about what is or could be a key component of reparations. And for me, it's also a key component of community well-being and mental health, which has to do with knowing who your people are, where you come from. If I want to, Dr. Briggs, you were talking about how you got into it, and somebody came by your mama's house and said they changed the address on grandpa's house, and you started thinking, well, how the heck are our descendants going to find where we grew up. If it wasn't for if it wasn't for knowing the address, now everything's going to be all mixed up. And you're saying that launched you into this lifelong passion of understanding who your people are and going back. You said all the way back to the 1700s so far.
I haven't gotten back to the I've actually gotten back to 1855.
1855, gotcha.
But I just within the past year, I think I found my third great grandfather's name mentioned in a relative's death certificate.
Do chills go up your spine each time you find something like that? Do you?
I'm sorry, did I do what?
I mean, is it a feeling of euphoria? Is it a spiritual feeling when you find those missing puzzle pieces?
Yes, it is, and I guess my first spiritual or the time when I actually paused, pulled out some tissues and cried was when I found my dad and his family in the 1920 census. You don't have to go all the way back to the 1800s before you do begin feeling something. I found myself in the U.S. Census records last year when they released the 1950 census. The census records are made public every 72 years, so that's how you figure out when you're going to show up. I show up for the very first time. I was 3 years old. That's telling my age, I guess. I show up in the 1950 census. But when I found my dad, because I was researching my father's line, starting out there in the library, in the Mormon library in West Los Angeles, I stopped for a minute and paused. He was, I think, 11 or 12 years old, and then his brothers and mom and dad, and they were all listed. And so in finding, I just maybe 2 years ago, the last time I made a trip to Salt Lake City, I found one of the other third great grandfathers in some Confederate soldier military records. He actually, it appears as though he actually fought on the Confederate side in the Civil War, and he's in an app called Fold 3, and it shows him being moved around from one position to another, and his job title was plantation guard, which means he may have been given a weapon, because during that time, slaves did go into the Civil War with their slave owners, but they weren't given, they weren't armed, they weren't given guns. But if he was a guard, I would have to think he was given a guard. So I'm wanting to carve out time to focus a bit more on him. I didn't cry about that when I found him, but I was certainly happy to find him,
But if someone wants to start this journey, or they want to join the Genealogical Society, how would they do it?
Well, the best thing to do is to start out by seeking a group such as ours, or visit a local library if that's easier to do. Nearly all of the Los Angeles city libraries and the county libraries have systems and they subscribe to the major genealogy research sites, and it's two, FamilySearch.org and Ancestry.com. The benefit of going to a library is you will probably find a volunteer who is also a genealogist who can assist you in getting started. And then once you get going, now, I can't do research on my phone because I'm too old. My phone is too small. I have to have at least a tablet, or most often I'm on my Dell tablet doing my research. In fact, I even have a place back in my home office where I have two monitors so that I can have Ancestral.com on one and Family Search on the other. But just reach out to anybody who's doing research, and mainly the libraries, or trek over to West LA to the Family Search Library that they have there. It's a part of that that institution. There are tons of volunteers who will help you. Now, as far as CAAGS go, prior to the pandemic, we had our own volunteers who we called it CAAGS Thursday. We tried to have someone there all day Thursday.
CAAGS for California African American Genealogical Society.
Correct.
By the way,
yes.
CAAGS.org.
Yep, and so we had a meeting last Saturday. We meet the third Saturday of each month out there now. And we at our meeting, someone brought up the issue of our needing to reinstitute the business of having our people, I hate to put it that way, but having someone from our organization out there to assist African-American people. And so before I left, one of the missionaries out there came in and asked me if we're going to resume coming out because more African-American people are coming into the library needing help.
Oh, that's
and it's
great.
much more meaningful when you have, someone of the same group helping you. And so we are talking about trying to get back into that probably after the first of the year.
Let's go to Randy calling us from Watts. Hi, Randy.
Hey, good morning, everybody. And that's definitely refreshing and very emotional. Like I brought it up with you a few months ago. I found from one of my relatives, ancestral background check showed a great-great-grandfather of ours being a part of the Port Royal experiment, which I knew nothing about in history. Is she aware of the Port Royal experiment from the Carolinas that led us into Alabama, where we were given those plantations and worked them, and then after the war, they took them back from us?
Yeah, you have called in about that before, Randy. I'm not sure if Dr. Briggs is familiar, but it sounds like you have a good start on your own family lineage.
Yeah. Well, what happened in my case, my family members migrated from, they call it Houston or Houston County, Georgia, over to, Houston, Georgia. Another group came from Alabama, and then these folks were folks who came from North Carolina. In the 1880 census, they're all in Jefferson County, Arkansas, because after the conclusion of the war, the business of the Army became that of removing the Native Americans from their land and, pushing them over into Oklahoma and New Mexico. And as the military went in and removed the Native Americans, they claimed that I haven't gotten one of these flyers yet. I've asked one of the NARA offices to search for a flyer that they would post in these towns so that former slaves and former slave owners who had been disenfranchised, they had lost their land during the war, the military would assist these people in crossing the Mississippi River into Arkansas and other places so that the land that the Indians and the Native Americans were inhabiting could be taken, and the Native Americans could not come back. And so those early people who ended up in Arkansas in 1880 they actually bought land. But by the time I as I did my research, I discovered that following World War I, they became sharecroppers.
Yeah, and then I guess that's parallel to the Port Royal experiment, which is a government plan to help people in South Carolina, formerly enslaved people, by helping them to buy and run plantations. And, I'm not sure, I haven't tracked it that closely, but we know a lot of the land, even that land that was given or purchased many times was stolen back. This Port Royal was from 1862 to 1865, and thank you for sharing that. Randy, we're talking with Dr. Edna Briggs. She's a genealogist. Finding your people seems like a great thing to delve into during the holiday season. Family conversations that can happen around Thanksgiving, Friendsgiving, Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah. And we're also in Mercury retrograde, which is a great time to look back and uncover formerly unknown secrets about anything in your family history, your country's history, the world's history, all that. We'll get Dr. Briggs' take on that and more when we continue on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Have you heard of the 50-30-20 rule? This can help you spend and save your money wisely. So, how does it work? Distribute your dollars into 3 buckets. 50% towards needs, 30% towards your wants, and 20% goes to savings. Use this tool to help your journey to financial success. Sponsored by J.P. Morgan Chase & Company.
Whether you're going over the river and through the woods in the capable Silverado 1500, getting the choir to church on time in the 3-row Traverse.
Thank you!
Or driving cross town to deliver your famous Cajun-spiced holiday turkey in the Equinox EV, America's most affordable EV with a 315-plus mile range. Add confidence to every holiday adventure and get it done with a rugged and capable Chevy truck or SUV. Find your red tag. Get 0% APR financing for 36 months on select popular Chevy models when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Offer available on all 2025 Equinox and 2024 Silverado, Equinox EV, Blazer EV, and Silverado EV models. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 22.2%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 12/2/24.
Thank you!
November is Youth Hope Month, shining a light on young people facing homelessness. Nearly 4.2 million experience homelessness in the U.S. Sanctuary of Hope is here to help. Join us for 2 empowering events. The SOH Freedom Summer Community Report Back on Thursday, November 21st, 6 p.m., and Interfaith Candlelight Vigil, November 25th, 6 p.m. Both events will be at the Sanctuary of Hope, 4003 West Adams Boulevard, Los Angeles. We honor the courage of transition-aged youth empowered by lessons of civil rights and justice. Hold a candlelight vigil that shines a light on the urgent issue of youth homelessness, uniting our commitment to a brighter future for all. That's the SOH Freedom Summer Community Report Back on Thursday, November 21st, 6 p.m., and Interfaith Candlelight Vigil, November 25th, 6 p.m. More info? Visit thesoh.org. That's thesoh.org.
Are you an entrepreneur looking to take your business to new heights? KBLA Talk 1580 is your partner in success. Every day, we celebrate and elevate Black-owned businesses across our community. Our KBLA SMB Marketplace currently features The Cookie Dip, Badass Bakes, Hair Concoction, Higher Education Accreditation Consulting, LACC Radiology Technology Department, and Malik Books. Your business deserves to be heard. Let KBLA Talk 1580 amplify your voice and connect you with our powerful community of listeners. Email smb@kbla1580.com today. That's smb@kbla1580.com. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
Time flies on the radio, Dr. Edna Briggs. I have a lot more questions than we have time left, so maybe we'll do the best we can here. So you can join the society, start digging. Is there any kind of service where you can pay someone and they'll do this work for you?
There's no service per se, but there are people out there who do research for pay. Being that we are a charitable nonprofit organization, given how we're structured under the Secretary of State, we have no mechanism for that at this point. What we basically do is if people want to come to a library and meet with us, we provide free assistance that way, or we've gone out to different organizations, church groups, and et cetera, and made presentations to groups of people to help folks get started. And then beyond when I say help get started, that means you start out by completing first a document called a pedigree chart, where you start charting your information and you go back as far as you can in terms of having the names of your grandparents, great-grandparents, and so forth. And you want to begin talking to the older people first, because they're the ones who have the undocumented.
Right. That's the urgency of this, I think, during the holidays. I mean, look, a lot of us will be around family, and some of those folks are getting up there. They may not be around forever. So Thanksgiving, Christmas, Kwanzaa, whatever you're celebrating, when people gather, instead of talking about the election, perhaps you want to talk about your family history. What are some of the questions we ought to be asking our elders?
You want to ask them about, what was it like when you were 10 years old or 12 years old? I mean, you can pick a point and just let them talk. It's a good idea to record them if you, or take notes, either way. And so at your family gatherings, having at every family gathering I go to, I have a family group sheet in my purse that I give out.
I love
People can complete this family group sheet very quickly, meaning they're putting the names of the husband, the wife, and all the kids, and their information, and then any other notes. That will enable you to begin your collection of data, and you branch out from that. At every family reunion, I give out these forms and collect them, before the end, and that's how we have our database now, up to well over 1,200 people. So that's a good way. For folks who don't want to write anything down, I would say now we can record conversations on our phones, or there are other small devices that can be used to record these voices, especially of your older people, and then go and transcribe the information. We do have queries. We have all kinds of documents that we could share, that a list of questions that you can ask if you want to interview an older person. So we really don't have enough time to go into the detail behind all of that, but there are tools out there that will assist you in collecting whatever information you're interested in collecting.
Right, and I see on your website, CAAGS.org, CAAGS.org, you've got links to resources, and you can join there and lots of things like that. So, all the stuff we don't get to, I suggest you go there, or just do some research on your own.
Okay.
And so when you start on your own, I think there was some questions during this conversation. One, Shayon asked about what about the people who are already here that were indigenous here, Black indigenous people or Black travelers from before Columbus. I asked about maroon people, people who found ways to get free, including running away and changing names. So clearly there may be some holes in the census. There may be some holes in our information. Everything is not necessarily just based on the horrific nature of the slave trade. Everything is not going to be documented. And so it sounds, so that's why you start with yourself and move backwards, right? And I feel like you can't go wrong doing that, because at least you have the information about yourself.
Very true. And at some point, stop and write this information up, share this information, write some articles or something that can be published somewhere, because that's the problem we're running into now with artificial intelligence. There's very little information in the different databases that they're pulling the AI information from about us.
And the thing about AI, forgive me, Dr. Briggs, but if it doesn't know, it does something called hallucinate, which is make things up.
True.
Which means you got to check and double check, and it's a great reason to put real info into the data sphere.
Yeah, right. The African American Historical and Genealogical Society had a major conference last month during October, and there were several AI presentations made, and this was one of the things they were stressing. More African Americans have to begin documenting or sharing this research, that we're finding, no matter how minuscule it is. Write it up. Take the time to write it up and share it so that somebody else can pick up on it and expand upon it. And that's what I'm trying to get ready to do as I'm coming down the other side of the mountain now. I've got to write up this information, not only on my father's side, but I've found information about my mom's family, not as much, but I've got to put some time into the maternal side of my family. And, you know, DNA is not the answer to everything. And I've learned something today by hearing about the gentleman who spoke about his indigenous ancestors and all. That's new to me. It's and I think that's fascinating. And many more people need to know about those people as well.
Why do you say DNA isn't the answer to everything? I mean, I know sometimes DNA is used to trace people to a certain region. I think this idea, you know, someone texted me that, you know, we're going to jump to conclusions and say, well, you're a tether, or you're not Black American because they're not on a census or they don't know their information, is not right. We have to give people the space, the grace, and the resources to do our research because we were disenfranchised and disconnected from our history on purpose.
Yeah, very true. That's very true.
So why is DNA not always the answer?
The DNA, you've got to be able to do the tracing with the DNA. I have gotten my DNA tested by the 3 major companies, and I would say that if I combined all of the contacts that each company, because each company has a different data pool, a different group of people they've tested. So it's probably close to more like 4,000 folks that I am related to. Then that's 4th, 5th, 6th cousins, you know, far away, branched out. That information is, I guess it's a personal thing on my side.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not interested in that information. I'm more interested in the information that's going to be a little bit more readily available and information that I can connect with. I think one of the beauties too is with DNA is if you do have if you're connected to someone who is avidly doing research and can help fill in some of your gaps. That will help. But I've not personally. Other people have had other experiences, but I've not had that experience. I've only found one individual by way of DNA, and actually she found me.
Wow.
And we collaborated and pooled our group pedigree charts and family group sheets together, and as it turns out, her grandmother and my great-grandmother were sisters.
Wow, that's wild.
And
well,
so,
look, we
I don't mean to discount DNA.
Mm-hmm.
If that's your thing and you're interested in it, I would say do it. It just takes a different headset from my headset.
Okay.
But if it's useful to you, do it.
All right, Dr. Briggs, perhaps we'll have to do part 2. We're up against the clock here with news, traffic, and sports. CAAGS.org, CAAGS.org. We're going to keep the conversation going. We're wide open. Talk national politics, talk reparations when we come forward on KBLA. And thank you so much, Dr. Briggs. We are Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580.